is a clean hair day. We're gonna let it flow. Man, I am genuinely excited to talk about all of this right here. Hey, what's up my people? Welcome back to the channel. I am so glad you are here and I hope that you are having an amazing day. This is coming out on Friday afternoon, so hopefully if you're watching this on Friday afternoon, it's the weekend. And no, I'm not gonna sing that song that talks about it's Friday, Friday. No, we're not gonna, no, that's a brainworm that nobody needs. Man, I hope you're having a great day. I am talking about something that it's one of my favorite parts about being Catholic, and it's one of my favorite things about being an artist, and so much so that I am not in my usual outdoor bird-filled cicada singing background. I am in my studio, or what is more appropriately, the wall inside my studio. I occupy this little piece of wall, and this is where I make work for right now, and I am very hopeful that in the future I am able to build the studio out on the back of my property that I've been longing to build for a long time, and I feel like I'm really close. I'm really close to making that happen, and that's exciting. But for right now, this is it. You know, for all my artists out there that are watching this, use what you have. Make the most out of what you've got. I have a piece of wall. As you can see, I am making the most out of it, and we're making some cool things out of that. As I said in my last video, not a whole lot different, not a whole lot going on in the studio. However, there is an opportunity coming up in a couple of weeks where I am going to get to do something pretty cool. And as soon as that releases, I will let you guys know, and I will put that out there in the internet to share. And I'm super excited about getting to do that. It's gonna be really fun. This is the current commission piece that I am working on for a patron that I've been loving working on this icon, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what are icons and why am I an iconographer. So I want to do this in reverse of what I just said. I want to talk about how I even became an iconographer, because if you were to ask me, if you would have taken me 10 years ago when I first really, no, I would say, okay, maybe 13, 14 years ago, when I really sat down and decided to take art making seriously. If you could take past me and lay out all the different art forms and mediums and things that are out there, and if you were to say, okay, Gary, you get to be a professional artist in this form, with this media, not with a million guesses, would I have ever thought this was what I would be doing. Never ever. It was not even on my radar. It wasn't even on my radar until my wife and I started exploring the Catholic faith, and you can learn more about that if you haven't seen the last video. Go check that out in one of the little tab things. But here I am, and I get to work in an art form that is ancient. I get to do it in an ancient technique and style, and I love it. I wouldn't trade this art form for anything. I love working in this. I do work in watercolor. I'm a watercolor landscape artist. That's really how I got my start as an artist. But this has become the major part of my creative outlet and my creative output. The watercolor stuff still happens, but not as much as the iconography. So how did I get here? I became an iconographer because my wife and I were exploring the Catholic faith, like I said in my last video, and I got to a place where I knew that converting from Protestantism to Catholicism was no small thing. And more important than that, for me, was the reality that I was leading my kids towards a certain expression of faith that was radically different from how I grew up. And I wanted to know in my bones that I was following God's will. And so in the middle of some prayer time, I asked God, I said, okay, God, here's the deal. I care a lot about the soul of my kids. And I want to make sure that I'm leading them in the right direction, and that is to pursue Christ. And if that's where you want me to go, Lord, I need you to give me an icon. Because see, my cousin, who is also a convert, had found out that we were exploring Catholicism, and he said, hey man, as an artist, you want to check out iconography. You should look at this art form. You would really like it. It's super cool. So I started, digging into iconography and icons and the history of icons, and I was really excited about that. And as an artist, of course, it like stirred all the artistic neurons in my brain. And I simply asked God, I said, God, I need you to give me an icon. I need somebody to give me a gift, an icon. I don't care the size, small, big, whatever. And I'm not going to ask anybody. I'm not even going to tell my wife. This is between me and you, and I want to know that I'm obeying your will. And so I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and nobody gave me an icon. And then somebody encouraged me along the way to say, hey, you ought to try writing an icon. That would be pretty cool. I think you could do it. So I was like, okay, I'm interested in this. It's a pretty neat art form. I'll give it a try. So I wrote this little 5x7 icon called Our Lady of Perpetual Help about the Blessed Mother. And it was fun. It was neat. I put it in a frame, put it in my daughter's room. And my son came in and he was like, Dad, where's mine? So his patron saint is St. Francis of Assisi. So I did a little watercolor icon of St. Francis of Assisi and put it in his room. And then another person, I don't even remember, I think I sent a picture to my cousin or somebody, and they were like, well, if you need the practice, I could use this icon. So I did that one, and then I did another one. And then people saw them, and people said, hey, you ought to do these and sell them. You would be pretty good at it and make a little bit of extra money, and that would be really nice. And so I was like, okay, maybe. I don't know if there's even a market for this. I don't know if, do Catholics even care about icons? I don't know. I'm new to this whole deal. I'm not even Catholic yet. I was not even converted. So I wrote a larger version of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and I put it in the church auction, and people got into a bidding war over it, and they spent a little bit of money on it. And I was really encouraged by that. And in the midst of all that, my priest saw it, and he came to me and he said, Garrett, you ought to learn how to do that. You ought to learn how to write icons. I want you to learn. And I was like, oh, okay, Father, whatever you say. I'm not even Catholic yet. And before I knew it, my priest had made it possible for me to go and learn iconography. So I got to study under an incredibly talented iconographer named Veronica Royal out of the East Coast, and it was a genuine pleasure to learn from her. She's amazing, and she's very talented, and she loves this sacramental to the very core of her being. So I got to learn from her thanks to my priest and our parish. And then it took off. And then the crazy part to me is I didn't put all of the connections together until after we had converted. But we did, we converted, and it never came back to me that the Lord never actually gave me an icon. What I realized was that God didn't give me an icon. He gave me the gift to write icons. And that has been far more meaningful to me than any one little icon that I've been able to write or I've been given. Now, the cool part is, later on, after my conversion, somebody did give me an icon without me asking. It was super cool. So, all the affirmations were there. But that is how I became an iconographer. And I just started writing and putting them out there, and people were buying them, and then people started commissioning icons, and the more I did it, the more it took off. And now I'm in a place where I'm pretty regularly booked up as an iconographer, and people are commissioning works pretty regularly, and it's very, very exciting. And I really feel like I haven't even taken this. Like, I feel like I'm just now at the very base of the mountain, and there's so much further to go as an artist. And I'm really encouraged and excited to see what God is going to do through this art form for people in my parish, Catholics all around, and for my family. Like, I loved it. I do this all day. I work on it every single day. I have a full-time teaching job. I have a family. And when all of those things are done at the end of the day, I sit down and I work on my art for an hour or two every night after everybody else has gone to bed. Like, I don't get a lot of sleep. And that's okay, because it's worth it. Because this, to me, is worth it. So that's how I got to be an iconographer. Let me tell you a little bit, because I hear from beautiful, faithful Catholics all the time. People will ask, like, what is an icon? What is that? And let me share a little bit about what iconography is. I'm not going to enter into the are icons idols debate. Protestants, many times, you look at guys like Gavin Ortland, and they will tell you that iconography is a form of idolatry, and they would be 100% incorrect. If there was any one Catholic doctrine that I thought Protestants could get on board with pretty easily, one, it would be the Eucharist, and two, it would be the saints and iconography. I think every Christian, I believe this with every fiber of my being, every Christian, Protestant, Catholic, non-Catholic, whatever, can benefit from iconography and having icons in their home, because it is not idolatry. In fact, it is the complete opposite of idolatry. But I'm not going to get into the apologetics of that. I just want to share what they are. So icons are thought of as doorways or windows into the kingdom of heaven. And the idea is that when you bring the sacramental art of iconography into your home, you are opening a window that allows you to see into the reality and the beauty and the holiness of God's kingdom. And thereby you get to peer into who we are called to be now and its fullest expression then when we enter into the kingdom. And that's what the saints are. They are gleaming stars that we can see and go, okay, God is calling me to love him to that degree, to the same degree to which the saints did. And so icons, in their simplest definition, are windows into heaven. It's not a thing where we're trying to bring a saint down to our level. It's where we're trying to, through prayer, allow God to bring us to the fullness of who he made us to be. And so icons are really they're not just pretty things that you put in your house. They're meant to be sacramentals that draw you in to a richer and deeper, more meaningful prayer life. Like, it's all about prayer. These things are completely useless if they are not fueling and helping your prayer life. And I cannot tell you how many times I have knelt down in our living room before the icon of our patron saint of our family, St. Brigid of Ireland, and asked her to intercede with me when I was praying for my wife, or I was praying for my kids, or when I was praying for my own struggles. Like, I cannot tell you how rich it is to know that when I am at my lowest low and I am trying with every fiber of my being to just look at Jesus and pray, that I can look at an icon and know that that great cloud of witnesses is standing right next to me and praying with me and interceding with me. These beautiful, holy souls are standing before the throne of God and these beautiful, holy souls are standing before the throne of heaven and asking God to intercede on my behalf. And that is a beautiful gift that God has given us through his church. So they're a sacramental. They're meant to be a blessed thing. Now, the other part of having icons and of iconography is that it really is about putting something beautiful in your home that elevates the spirit, right? We are forward-aiming creatures. Jordan Peterson talks about this, and this is one of the things I agree with him wholeheartedly on. The things we set in front of us are the things to which we will pursue, and they are the things to which help us in the pursuit of what we were made to do. And icons are supposed to be that. They're supposed to be those reminders. Like, every time I walk past an icon of Christ on my wall, I am reminded of who my Savior is and what I am called to do. When I have these icons right there, that's St. Ephrem the Syrian, and right there, St. Patrick of Ireland, my patron saint. Every time I look at these icons, I am reminded of the man I am called to be. I'm reminded that I am called to pursue Christ to the nth degree with every fiber of my being. And that's what icons are supposed to do. They are supposed to be those beautiful reminders of what we are called to be in this life, and in the fullness of the fruition of that in the life to come, right? Now, I do want to address one thing that I hear a lot from people, especially that aren't accustomed to having icons or being around icons, is, I'll hear some version of this phrase, well, that's great, but they look weird. Okay, fair enough. I don't agree with the word weird, but they look different, and I'll agree with that. Icons look different because the style is not meant to be a Renaissance real-life portrait. It is meant to be something that is different. It is meant to be something that puts us off a little bit, not in a bad way, but just not something we are accustomed to. We, as Western postmodern Christians, are used to Renaissance art, which is very technical, very realistic, very lifelike. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful and good. Everyone benefits from looking at a Rembrandt, period. But icons are meant to be different because who we are in heaven is different. The fullness of the new body that Christ will give us is different. And so icons aren't supposed to be just nice portraits of nice people. They're meant to be something that visually tells us something different is coming. The way the light of God shines out of us is seen in an icon. The fluidity of the robes is meant to remind us of the all-encapsulating reality of God that moves all around us. The halos are meant to remind us of holiness. The colors are there to remind us that there is no shadow in heaven. There is no darkness. I mean, the whole thing, every line, every color, every stroke of a brush is meant to tell you something about the reality of God, His Son Jesus, and the kingdom that surrounds our every second of every day. Icons are meant to look different than Renaissance art because we will be different when we enter into the kingdom of heaven, and yet we will still be who we are. It's one of the great mysteries. Like, how are we different and yet the same? It's one of the beautiful parts of Christianity. And that's what icons are supposed to remind us of. They're supposed to remind us that there is something that's coming that will make us more than who we are now. So that's a brief. Like, I could probably do a whole bunch of videos on icons, and I probably will, because I want to get more into the symbology, the symbolic meanings behind what the different things are, who the saints are. I want to talk a lot about saints. I really want to do a video about my patron saint, St. Patrick, because I feel like most Christians only know St. Patrick through the lens of St. Patrick's Day, green rivers, and beer, and that's tragedy. I love St. Patrick. He is just so cool. So I'm going to do a video on that. But that's a brief intro on why I'm an iconographer, what icons are supposed to be, and what we as Christians are blessed to receive from God through the church, through iconography. If you want to know more, go check out my website. I have a lot of work there. You can see some of the icons I've written in the past. If you want to commission an icon, you can go to my website and check that out. If you want to know more about iconography, I'm going to do more videos. I'm going to have more stuff to talk about, hopefully getting onto different platforms to talk about iconography. There's just so much to this sacramental that the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church offers that is a beautiful wellspring of life that comes from Christ. And I love sharing that. So check all that stuff out. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. Had a bunch of new subscribers jump on lately. Thank you for subscribing and for being a part of this channel and this journey. Man, it's super fun to share this stuff. I've spent my whole life trying to be a better Christian and trying to follow Jesus more rightly. And it's a joy to share that journey with you guys. So thank you for checking in. Thank you for subscribing, liking, leave comments. The comment sections have been really encouraging. You know, there's a few trolls. That's fine. You know, every fairy tale has its troll. Here we are. But it's good. It's really good. I hope you have a great and awesome rest of your day. Until I see you next time, keep climbing.